champion.
It is MVP favorite versus last year's MVP. Sunday night, Charm City, fourth matchup between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Allen got the best of Lamar in 2 of the 3 meetings, interceptions being the main difference, especially in that lone playoff meeting when Lamar threw 3 of the 4 picks on this graphic. Their last meeting, week 4, 2022, exactly 2 years ago. The Bills won that one on a last-second field goal. Dan, last week, it was back to the traditional Baltimore ground and pound, 72% runs, 274 rush yards.
Yeah.
What do you want to see from this offense this week against the undefeated Bills?
Similar to what they did last week to Dallas defensively. The 2 things that stand out: one, they changed the picture constantly. They presented a formation that looked one way, and they would motion and then get to some of their base plays. You got to challenge Buffalo's defense in this way because Buffalo's defense is so sound. You got to constantly make them think on the fly, and I really like that. And the second thing is Patrick Ricard. It was part of their football plan again. They moved him at fullback, they moved him at tight end, and they allowed him to be kind of that weapon that we've grown accustomed to. But if you just line up against Buffalo's defense, this is something that Baltimore has struggled with doing against this team. You're going to struggle. They got to constantly try and force that picture to change last second.
Patrick Ricard is so key to this whole offense. He's been the secret weapon, the identity of this offense for years, but I think he's so key in this game because if I'm Baltimore, I want to do what no offense has really done against this Bills defense, which is attack the linebackers, attack the spine of this defense, which should be their weakness. Granted, they've played well. I want to give them credit, but if the Baltimore comes out in their 22 personnel like they did last week with 2 backs, 2 tight ends on the field, Patrick Ricard's basically a de facto tight end, or their 12 personnel, the Bills are going to play that in nickel, meaning that they're going to have a slot quarterback on the field. And if so, they should have a physicality advantage, and then they can play action pass off of that. There are a couple other things I want to see in this one. The Bills are not going to blitz Lamar. They standardly rely on a 4-man rush. Lamar scrambles versus the 4-man rush will be huge. And then can you activate Mark Andrews? Again, that spine in the defense, there are mismatches to be had with these Ravens tight ends in the passing game. They have not got him going. I think they have to get him going in this game.
I'm going to go to the other side, y'all, and talk about the Baltimore Ravens defense. Listen, this to me has to be what we've seen from the Buffalo Bills offensively. It's been super efficient and explosive at the same time. I think you got a chess piece, Kyle Hamilton. I don't think you can ever know. We talked yesterday about playing Where's Waldo with CeeDee Lamb. You got to always be worried about Kyle Hamilton involving himself in either the rush or playing like a robber situation. I think to just throw off kilter what the Buffalo Bills have been comfortable with. That's the one thing that came to my mind in watching their offense, D.O. and MK, is that they've just been comfortable. They've been operating and we give them credit for being good, but nobody has pressed them really yet. And I want to see if the Baltimore Ravens will come out with that type of mentality with and using Kyle Hamilton as that chess piece to kind of stand in the way of Josh Allen, be one place and end up somewhere else like they used to do with Air Reed. But definitely in the pressure package, try to get 14 moving and involved in looks and disguises and also pressing the quarterback.
I think it'll help too, the veteran presence for Baltimore. I don't understand how defenses do it, Marcus, but they still allow Josh to get out to his right. If you allow Josh to scramble and go create so Van Noy and the veteran presence he has, I agree. Maybe having Kyle as the spy guy. Now you take him out of the back end though, so that's dangerous.
In certain
as
situations,
the spy guy in those situations because he's athletic enough and big enough to get him down.
Chess has been impossible.
MK,
Go ahead, Swag. Go ahead.
MK, I understand your reservation, MK, because of what we've seen from Buffalo, but you got to make a determination. This is always defense. Are we going to try to speed up the process at the quarterback, or are we going to try to lay back and try to play coverage? I think you got to try to speed this up for Josh Allen.
Well, and something's got to give because we got Josh Allen 4-1 outright as an underdog in primetime, and the Bills are getting 2.5 according to ESPN Bet. Versus Baltimore, 20-3 in primetime at home under John Harbaugh, best win percentage in the NFL in that time. And Swagoo, you asked, I delivered. I'm
take one,
the
Phil.
dissenter.
Take one, Phil.
Taking one for the
Bills
team.
Mafia actually owes. They should make a donation.
That's a Bills Mafia. We'll get one for that. Hey, in the daylight Sunday, we've got an NFC North rivalry in the limelight. What happens at Lambeau between Green Bay and Minnesota could go a long way come January. Packers and Vikings have both gotten off to terrific starts, both ranked top 8 in the league. Point differential, yards per play, total QBR, opponent QBR. Minnesota won in Green Bay last season. They look to win consecutive games at Lambeau for the first time since the early 90s, which included Brett Favre's first 2 home starts against the Vikings. New on NFL Live from Adam Schefter, this year's Packers QB1, question about him, limited participant in practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, officially questionable for Sunday. Dan, we'll start with you. You're our quarterback. Irrespective of who starts this game for Green Bay, what must the Packers offense do to have success against Brian Flores and this Vikings defense?
I'm going to ask Mina. Mina, what's the most important thing against Flores' defense? She doesn't know I'm asking her.
You got to win on early downs.
Bang, bang. First down will be the most important down, whether it's Malik Willis or Jordan Love. It'll be interesting to see how Matt LaFleur tries to get that done. If you kind of pay attention, he picks a formation almost every game that he wants to lean into on early downs, and he'll have 4 or 5 different plays out of that. You saw it last week, that 4-strong formation. This is the first snap of the game. They fake the toss. They pull that backside the backside guard. Those underneath defenders fly. So imagine Minnesota just as an aggressive defense flying. Malik Willis throws a shallow a bit later in that quarter. There's that same 4-strong formation. Remember, last time they faked the toss. This is first down again. This time they're actually going to kick the toss. There's that same shell defense that Minnesota likes to play top down. Green Bay's offensive line is athletic enough to get out on the perimeter. Very same formation, first down, you motion, and it gets to that 4-strong again. This time they're going to hand it off to Jaden Reed. Same formation, 3 different plays, 3 different moments in the football game, but all on first down. If Green Bay wants to have some form of success and really not have to deal with the bad words of Minnesota's defense, you got to win on first down. You got to be good on first down.
Oh, man, I love this game. Okay, so I'm in total agreement with Dan about the Packers offense. Any offense playing this defense, you have to win on early downs. Otherwise, it's over. Here's why, though, I hope it's Jordan Love that he does play in this one. And obviously, he has to be healthy. Because the other thing you have to do against this defense is you got to do really special things as a quarterback.
Sure.
2 things in particular. This defense, they show all kinds of crazy looks up front, but then ultimately they're playing either quarters, Tampa 2, it's split safety in the back end, which we've been talking about this season in terms of how it limits offense. However, if you're a quarterback who is willing to throw the whole shot, to throw the deep post against those looks, and Jordan Love is willing and capable of doing that, you can beat it over the top, right, by attacking that deep part of the field. And then the other thing is, as a quarterback, you've got to be able to extend and create. This defense makes you first read wrong. They are so good at that. And if you play in structure, like Brock Purdy and C.J. Stroud typically do so well, that is often not enough. You have to have that extra out-of-structure playmaking. And I'm saying that Purdy and Love, or Purdy can't do that, or CJ, but I'm just saying Jordan Love in this one, if he can extend, there are opportunities there in the passing game, but you have to, in certain moments, go above and beyond the play call.
Yeah.
Well, Marcus, on the Vikings side, they've got a coach in Brian Flores great at in-game adjustments. How do you think he influences this one?
Yep. Yeah, this is a F around and find out game when you play the Minnesota Vikings. That's what Mina and Dan is alluding to. Because if you're not prepared for chaos around the line of scrimmage, you are going to get bludgeoned. And that's what's been happening. Like we saw Brock Purdy. We know how cerebral Brock Purdy is. Dan has talked about how great Brock Purdy is with anticipation and throws in the window. It was the same narrative for C.J. Stroud, seeing things before they develop. The problem is you don't have time to see those things. And that's why it's so important what Mina just said. Most of the time, it's going to be your second option. It's going to be a slide or a run out of the pocket in order for you to push the ball downfield. The beautiful thing that Brian Flores is doing with this defense before anything happens when the ball is snapped is he's putting a five man at the line of scrimmage. He's forcing you to block people one-on-one. Yeah. And even if you have enough people, there's enough confusion with the disguises and sometimes the pressure to speed it up. So it's, and we, go ahead.
You know what the biggest mistake, because you're right. You know what the biggest mistake both offenses and quarterbacks make when they play against this team outside of not being, you think you have it figured out. You don't.
Yes.
You know, you
Yes.
stand there at the line of scrimmage and you think, oh, yeah, this is the blitz, and then this is going to be the rotation, and all of a sudden it's not that, and then you go into panic
100%.
mode, you know? You can't think you've got it figured out.
And Dio, to your point, even when it's not anything special, he's created 5 one-on-ones at the line of scrimmage, bro. That's it is beautiful how he's doing this right now, and he's deciding. Brian Flores is deciding to dominate the line of scrimmage, regardless of how prolific you are in the passing game. We are going to speed everything up for you and hope that your quarterback panics. And we saw 2 of the best panic the previous 2 weeks.
It's such a captivating game. It's such an important game.
It's going to be unreal.
You know, 3-horse race in the NFC North. Minnesota looking to go 4-0 for the first time since 2016.
Okay, Phil.
Swag, I didn't plan this.
Okay, Phil. Way to save us. Save the graphic, dog.
It's a
love
win-win.
plays, I want to.
Go ahead, Mina. You have a caveat?
No, I'm just saying, I might
love
change
of
this if Jordan Love plays.
Yeah.
I might change this. So mine comes with a bit of caveat.
Well, and last week, Malik Willis had 1 pass attempt under pressure. Again, different pass rush entirely, but Green Bay's done its job. But if Love, one of the early afternoon kicks, Sunday, a wild card rematch when the Bucs host the Eagles. Tampa got shocked at home last week by Bo Nix in Denver, Tampa's worst home loss in 4 years. Philly, already without A.J. Brown in New Orleans, lost Devontae Smith to a concussion. They did rally to win 15-12 after being held scoreless for 3 quarters. New on NFL Live, the Eagles' latest injury report. Looking up in some regards, A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson upgraded to limited practice participants Friday. They're both questionable for Sunday's game, while Devontae Smith, with that concussion, is now officially out. Jalen Hurts' production has taken a big hit without his top 2 receiving options, Brown and Smith. With neither on the field, Hurts' QBR just 35. He has a 53% completion rate, thrown nearly as many picks as touchdowns. With both on the field, QBR spikes by 30 with a much better completion percentage and better touchdown to interception ratio. Not surprisingly. Marcus, if Jalen Hurts is without both main targets, we know he's at least without Smith. What do you expect from him this weekend in Tampa?
Yeah, I think Jalen is going to have to be a playmaker. I mean, we could talk about dropping back and passing the football, but obviously you just showed the graphic there with the percentages when he's missing both of his players. And who are you going to rely on? Obviously, it's going to be Saquon Barkley, more in the passing game as well, but Dallas Goedert as well. And you got to try to find somebody else that can make a couple plays for you down the stretch. But this is going to be about Jalen Hurts' legs. It's going to be about him extending plays and making sure that one and most importantly, he's taking care of the football. Todd Bowles is going to zone him. He's going to change it up. And when you bring these pressures, he needs to be able to either buy time or get the ball out of his hands quickly. So coaching staff on this offensive play calling, Kellen Moore, but more importantly, his athleticism with his legs and playmaking ability is probably going to have to come to the forefront if we talk about Philly having a chance to win this game.
24 for 141, Marcus. That's the combination of carries and then yards between Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix against this Tampa defense. Totally agree that the legs for Jaden and the designed runs, but also when they spread them out. I also think it's a different run game in Philadelphia this year. 22, it was heavy zone read, and they were dominant at it, but it wasn't a variety of it, and a little bit less last year. This year, we've seen counter. That's become a huge part of their offense. We've seen one-back power with lead, where it's almost a downhill trap. We've also seen a little bit more of a zone run game when they get into their 12 personnel. I think the discipline of doing that this week matters. I don't think that it's going to be easy to just line up and run against Tampa. It's still good whether Vita Vea plays or not, but the discipline to do it. The other element in this game that matters, watching Tampa outside play so soft coverage-wise last week against Denver, in many ways just giving completions to Bo Nix in that offense.
Giving it up, yeah.
The discipline to run it, and then the discipline for Jaden not to chase explosive plays, but to just spit it out to the flat and get your completions is really important this weekend.
Yeah, I really like what you guys said about the run game, because it really isn't the run defense that it was, a couple of years ago when we think of Tampa. And if they can get to that second level, I think there can be explosives on the ground. The other thing I want to see is the same thing, I've been wanting to see every time Jalen Hurts has gone against these Todd Bowles defenses in recent year, which has kind of been his boogeyman in the playoffs, which is who are you throwing to when he blitzes you? Because we know he's going to blitz him, right?
Sure.
Last year, when Jalen Hurts was blitzed, over 55% of the time it went to A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. This year, he has been much better when defenses send extra pressures. But without those two receivers, I don't quite know who is going to be the answer. Is it Dallas Goedert? Is it Saquon Barkley?
Yeah.
Because as you guys know, beating the blitz, you have to trust your brain, and you really have to trust the receiver that you're throwing to. And I think it's going to be really an important task for him and Kellen Moore to go into this game with a plan for that regard.
MK, I pray to Jesus that they will use Saquon in the screen game versus blitz. Because you need it one time. You don't need it to work every time.
That's where your
just
explosives
once.
going to come from.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, while Hurts has been better against the blitz, hasn't been
Saquon
better.
versus those linebackers, that's a matchup I like.
Totally.
Hurts hasn't been better, though, against zone this year. 49 QBR, and Tampa runs zone on 74% of dropbacks, also fourth highest in the NFL. Looking at our game picks, Marcus, the one dissenting opinion, though we all like similar scorelines. Philly, a 2-point favorite.
It's a good game.
Here in Tampa. A very good game. We expect playoff wild card, if not divisional implications. Eagles dealing with injury. They're not getting any sympathy, though, from San Francisco. We had 1/4 of the Super Yak Bros suited up in Week 3's loss to the Rams. No Deebo Samuel, no George Kittle. Christian McCaffrey's getting Achilles consultation in Germany while on IR. Both Samuel and Kittle were limited participants at practice Thursday. Dan, San Francisco still nowhere near full strength. What should be their focus now as they host the Patriots this weekend?
Yeah, so if you go back to the New England game against the New York Jets, the big takeaway for many people was, man, Aaron Rodgers made some plays outside the pocket. Brock Purdy, that's the difference in San Francisco's offense. If you go back to some of the injuries that have shown themselves, is he still can create with his legs. And against New England's defense, that's a really good defense. His ability to just buy some extra time, especially in those crucial moments, the red zone or third down situations where he can get out of trouble, and then not only that, but go make something good out of it, is a huge, huge, huge deal. The other element, their play action game. He is so good at operating the play action stuff timing-wise in the middle of the field. With the team that's a little bit depleted, maybe a weapon or two down, his feet become such a big storyline against a defense that, if they didn't give those up against the New York Jets, played really solid football.
Yeah, Dio, I love having Kittle back with the potential of him playing. Obviously, we alluded to this when we found out Kittle was going to be out, of how impactful he is in the run game. And we saw some of the problems without having him to kind of set those edges against the Los Angeles Rams. But the other thing is, too, like what you just talked about with Brock Purdy on play extension. But now you got a guy, at least you got a weapon that you feel like you can get a matchup if you're Shanahan and create some explosives. It's a lot of times, man, like when you go throughout this season, especially with the New England Patriots, based on the injuries, this plays right into the hands of what they want to do defensively. And now you got to find somebody else to kind of stretch them and extend them. And hopefully that can be Kittle in this particular game, and he's healthy enough to be explosive.
I'll flip this to the Patriots side. Against the Jets, Dan makes a great point. A lot of that Aaron Rodgers extending plays was so key in that one. But the other thing that happened in that game that surprised me was the Patriots did not tackle well. And this is one of the best tackling defenses in the league this year, last year, the last 5 years. But they missed a ton of tackles when Breece Hall carried the football. And now you're going up against a Niners offense. Yes, they don't have Christian McCaffrey, but Jordan Mason is a load on the ground. That guy causes a lot of missed tackles. He's very physical. So if I'm New England, I just really want to see a bounce-back performance from my defense when it comes to tackling. And they're missing Bentley, and that was meaningful. But they should still be, one of the better tackling units in the NFL. If they can limit the Niners' yards after the catch the way they have historically, then I think they can keep this one maybe closer than it would otherwise be. Well,
San Francisco has a sour taste in their mouth. 50-0, they entered that game against the Rams, went up 14 or more in the second half. Now 50-1, and it took all that offensive depletion. And looking at our picks, oh man, it's a sweep. We know that's cursed. I like them to cover the 10.
Oh God!
But confidence not
hopefully
waning.
You can be.
I'm trying.
You should
like
be selfless here and flip your pick.
You know what? Later in the show, I took a couple for the team going out on a limb by myself. But I want to say, San Francisco, they're 1-2. They have the head-to-head loss to the Rams. No one scored more than 10 points off Pittsburgh. Lots of chatter about the QB situation. Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick said they, quote, may have the best one. Justin Fields won 7 of his last 9 as a starter dating back to Chicago. Now they face Anthony Richardson and Indy. And this just in, no Jalen Warren for Pittsburgh, injured his knee last week. Mina, we'll start with you. What's a lock for this one, Pittsburgh and Indy?
I think Indianapolis pounds the rock. And it's a strength-on-strength matchup because the Steelers' run defense has been excellent at all three levels, by the way, thus far this year. But the Colts' rushing attack has been really good, too. In fact, it's been really the only consistent good thing about this offense. And I think Shane Steichen is going to lean on that because the passing game for Indianapolis has been so inconsistent for a litany of reasons. He can't risk getting into 3rd and longs against this pass rush. So I think they're going to put both Richardson and Taylor to the test against the Steelers' run defense, and it's going to be a real challenge for both sides of the football.
Marcus, that's Mina's lock. What's your key?
I love it. Yeah. My key is the fact that T.J. Watt in this defense has to force a turnover, and we've grown accustomed to them being able to do it. I love what Mina said about this run game because I think Indy will lean heavily. I just warned Anthony Richardson to not think that his athleticism will get him out of this situation, because these guys rush smartly, and then 90 with his ability to get off the ball so fast and get into the backfield and create before you even get into your drop has been an issue for every single quarterback this season. So if the game is played on the margins, like we've seen, this defensive line, especially number 90, can win it. I'm not talking about change possession. I'm talking about sack, fumble, pick up from the other side, and go win the football game. That's the key for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, but also something for Indy to be wary of.
And if Watt gets half a sack in any of his next 5 games, he'd be the second fastest to 100 in his career, behind only Reggie White. I would say I'm not a betting man. And
let's just say this.
I'm a betting man, and I think he'll get paid.
I was about to say, let's just say he will be the fastest man other than Reggie White. He get a half sack for the game start.
Well, the NFL Live curse lives on here. Steelers slight road favorites, and we all like Pittsburgh to go into Indy and come away with the win. Next up, let's head to that matchup in the NFC South, Saints and Falcons. Panthers are the only NFC South team to win in Week 3. Saints visit the Falcons. New Orleans 5-1 in their last 6 trips to Atlanta. Be just the 3rd career meeting between veteran QBs Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr. Cousins won the previous 2 while with Minnesota and Washington. Dan Orlovsky, what's a lock in this one?
Whatever team's linebackers handle the play action pass better, they win. Both of these offenses are cut from the same cloth when it comes to scheme. They want to run the zone, and they want to run the play action. They're really trying to stress the second level. Whatever group, that's the lock. Whatever linebacker group can play patient, get really good depth, force more check downs, and then tackle well rather than allowing some of the big chunks over their heads, that's what team defensively is going to play better and really stall out the strength of the other team's offense.
Mina, what's the key?
Similarly, sort of sticking with the spine of the defense, whichever team's interior pass rush dominates at the line of scrimmage is going to have a big edge in this one. Both of these offenses, which is as Dan laid out, have a lot of similarities, are missing their centers. And we saw against the Eagles defense last week, that was a massive problem for this outside zone running attack. Jalen Carter took over that football game. So that is my question for Atlanta. Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata. Same thing again for the Saints on the interior. Who can take advantage of that weakness? Because for both of these quarterbacks who do not play well under pressure, particularly well under pressure, that is going to be a significant issue.
And new on NFL Live, news out of New Orleans from Adam Schefter. Saints are listing running back Alvin Kamara and wide receiver Chris Olave as questionable for this huge NFC South game against the Falcons. Kamara 26 carries last week against the Eagles. Let's head to MetLife Stadium. Jets are hosting the Broncos. Hey man, I don't need to tell y'all how bad things can get with Yo Mama jokes. Kind of happened last year. Sean Payton took over Denver, said some not so nice things about Nathaniel Hackett. Aaron Rodgers got a little ticked, defended his OC, then he got hurt. But Week 5, Gang Green had everybody's back, including Hackett's. Jets beat the Broncos 31-21 in Denver. Now they get to do it again. Marcus, what's your lock in this game?
Bo Nix will turn the football over. He was dynamic with his legs. We saw it last week. But the Jets will force him into some turnovers by trying to push the ball down the field.
Well, today Denver had to practice indoors at Greenbrier Resort, Dan. Hurricane Helene forced them onto a tennis court. What's the key in this one?
The Jets offense versus the Broncos third down defense. 2 different looks at it. The Broncos are going to line up 5 guys across the line of scrimmage. You're going to try and motion often if you're the Jets to get tells defender runs with them, and here's the challenge. They're going to then take stunts and wrap people and force pressure, and that's going to make Aaron Rodgers and his offense feel sped up. And when you watch this secondary cover, specifically in these third down situations, the thing that stands out is not only is the pass rush fantastic, absolutely no one gets open on the offensive side of the football. That's going to be the challenge. That's that 5-man front look. The second one is they're going to walk up both backers into that A gap. You got the 4 defensive linemen, see how spread wide they are? But what they're going to do is walk linebackers up into those A gaps, which is the spot between the guard and the center. And you're sitting there going, well, those are going to be 6 guys. Motion, remember, last time a defender ran with, this time they don't. The challenge is they're just trying to create one-on-ones. And while those backers drop out, they still have the one-on-ones in the offensive line protection. They'll bring a player like Jonathan Cooper off the edge, beating an elite tackle. And again, I told you in those man situations, 5-man front, no one open. This time there's those 4 defensive linemen. Those are the 2 backers backed up. Motion goes, no one runs. Again, when you look at this, absolutely no one open for the offense. The way that the Broncos on third down tie rush and coverage, a key for the Jets to have success against them.
And to pick your locks, we all like the Jets, only I like them to cover. Time now for AI-generated fantasy insights from IBM Watson X. Is Garrett Wilson a good fantasy play Sunday against Patrick Surtain and the Broncos? Denver's allowed a league low 150 receiving yards per game and only has allowed 2 players to have more than 50 receiving yards. Given all that, makes sense. Watson X projects Wilson with a high of 18.9. Do you like what he's saying here?
Yeah, I like what he's saying because he's telling the truth. Like, we all watching it, too. We all see it. That's why we got all these high-definition cameras and 4K and all of that, because all of us can watch it any kind of way. We can stream it. We can watch it on TV. We can watch it on a phone or an iPad. We can watch it with somebody else having a good time. We can watch it solo like I did last night and get depressed. That's what happened. So Micah is just expressing what everybody else is feeling about the Dallas Cowboys. There is nothing dominant about the team, which is what bothers me. People going to talk about the defense. Let me give Mozzie Smith a shout-out, too, because I got on him yesterday, Phil Murphy. You don't know anything about that. I got on him. He played well against the New York Giants, was in the backfield, made some plays. He showed up in that game. But ultimately, trying to find something that this team is dominant at, and when you can't, is why I came away depressed, Dio.
I was going to say the kicker is dominant, Marcus, but he actually missed a kick. I think he's still dominant, but he actually missed a kick. Dan and I went back and forth about that one. Look, if you're the Dallas Cowboys and you're wondering what to take away from that game, what you can build on, because a win is a win in the National Football League, I do think there were some encouraging things in run defense. Marcus, you alluded to Mozzie Smith. I honestly thought he had the best game of his entire career. He was shedding blocks, getting into the backfield, and you see how helpful it is to the entire run defense when your nose tackle can be counted on to handle double teams and control gaps and not get pushed around because the linebackers are flying around. Suddenly everyone's playing a little bit freer. DeMarvion Overshown was the other guy who really jumped out to me, his speed and his athleticism, and he was making tackles. That's all great, but you also have to consider the fact that the Giants came into this game with the 3rd worst rushing attack in football in success rate. So again, you don't want to diminish. Like you got to stop bad rushing attacks to have a good run defense, and they played the team that was in front of them. But it's really for the Dallas Cowboys defense about stringing together and building upon this performance in run defense, which, to be fair, was encouraging.
Well, for context, Mina and I argue about who the best kicker in the NFL is. She takes Aubrey, I take Harrison Butker. So that when he missed that kick at the end, it made it a little interesting. We are in the worst place we could possibly be with the Dallas Cowboys because they're not bad and they're not good. They're fine. But we have to talk about them. They're as average as can be. Offensively, they're as boring as can be. Their offense right now and kind of how we talk about this football team, it's like what Marcus does with his beard and glasses, trying to make something ugly look a little bit better.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Sorry, I'm in a mood on Friday.
That's a good one.
But, think of just last night against a defense that's okay. They score a touchdown on a screen that has a flag thrown on it for holding. It's probably 50-50 if it's holding or not, and they wave the flag off. And then CeeDee's touchdown, if we're being honest, is more bad defense than good offense. It's bad coverage at the line of scrimmage. It's a bad angle by the safety. So there's not anything that I'm taking away from this game that I didn't feel going into the season or I did in the past couple weeks. The Cowboys are an average football team, and if they play below average teams or average teams like them, they got a chance. And if they don't, they're going to get handled.
And swagger that schedule, man.
Yeah. Listen, Mina, I said it this morning. When people say it's a win, it's a win. It's like when you go on a date with your boyfriend and you invite your friend to come meet somebody else, and they really ugly, and your friend say, "Oh, they okay," but they being nice because you invited them on a yeah. They got it. That's what Dallas is. That's what a win is a win means in the NFL. That's the context of it. Because we all know it wasn't impressive, but we got here on this date, so we might as well enjoy ourselves.
And again, despite all that, it was a competitive game. And Daniel Jones said post-game it was fine margins and settling for field goals that actually cost this team.
Just didn't execute in those positions. We got behind the sticks with some penalties and some unforced errors, and just didn't execute the same as we had leading up to that point. We're expected to score touchdowns and put points on the board, and in a game that I felt like we were able to do a lot and move the ball well and execute a lot of stuff well. We didn't execute the red zone stuff and didn't punch it in, so that's frustrating, yeah.
And the numbers support Jones. When New York was at Dallas's 30 or closer, they averaged just 2.4 yards per play, converting just 20% of third downs. Jones's QBR dropped to 10 in that range when they were further away, the first 70 yards of the field. They averaged more than double the yards per play. Jones had an 85 QBR. Dan, you're feeling some type of way on this Friday. Giants left some meat on the bone, it seems. What did you make of what you saw from them?
I thought Daniel Jones played well, really well. Probably one of the better games I've seen him play over the last 2 seasons, maybe 2.5 seasons. Yeah. Kinley was let down by his teammates on third downs. There's a drop on a stop route to Slayton. We showed this throw before. Wan'Dale Robinson, if he catches that, he's not only going to get a first down, it's a huge chunk. And this throw to Malik Neighbors, again, hopefully he's going to be okay and healthy.
Hell of a throw.
That's a great throw, and he drops it. He was amazing last night. So am I wrong to feel that way? I don't think that if we're going to sit there and say Dak Prescott played well, which he did, I felt the quarterback performance by Daniel Jones was relatively similar.
100% agree, Dio. He was efficient. He moved the ball well. They just got to the point they got stuck. You know what I would have loved to see from the Giants on a serious note?
Run.
I would have loved to see them. There you go, in the red area. They gave Dallas nothing to think about. You mentioned about how boring Dallas offense is, and I thought Daboll was doing a good job trying to find opportunities for Wan'Dale and obviously Malik Neighbors. But when they got into the red zone, they became very stagnant in that area of the field. And that's when you get creative. That's when you use his athleticism. But I'm with you. I thought Daniel Jones played well. The only frustration I had was a couple underthrows, especially on the free play. Man, put that thing out there because that might have been the difference of the game. But when you look down in and down out, possession by possession, the dude was putting the ball where it needed to be. I saw him make some throws in the middle of the field. I was like, whoa,
good. Yeah.
that is what keeps you kind of hanging on. But ultimately, man, that red area cost them majorly.
The underthrows were interesting and a little bit disappointing to me because, a few years ago, for all of the ups and downs of his career, Daniel Jones actually was a very good deep ball thrower earlier in his career.
Yeah.
That doesn't really seem to be the case anymore. I wonder if it's coming off of the injuries or whatnot, but so far this season, that really just hasn't been there at all. Underneath, though, as you said, he looked good to me. He looked accurate. He looked decisive. I will say, in the same way that I said, if we're talking about the Cowboys' run defense, we got to talk about the Giants' lack of a rushing attack. I did also feel, though, watching this Giants offense, they were assisted by some, shall we call them foibles on the part of the Dallas Cowboys defense. I mean, so many of these series were extended just by terrible missed tackles in space that were, frankly, befuddling at times. And then I was impressed by the Giants' offensive line, but then I remember, wait, the Dallas pass rush is missing guys, and DeMarcus Lawrence is hurt, and Micah Parsons is hurt. So it was another one where I don't mean to damn with faint praise, but I feel like some of the efficiency of the offense was aided by the Cowboys' struggles on defense. And that kind of sums up this game as a whole, right? Like, both quarterbacks were pretty good, but both of us feel that neither of these teams quite distinguished themselves, which I guess is the NFC East right now.
Yeah, I like, honestly, the biggest takeaway from the game is twofold for me. One, Malik is amazing. Two, is he going to make it this season? I mean, they use Malik Neighbors literally every play. They motion him every play. They throw to him every play. That's my, I guess, takeaway and or concern with the Giants is I know he's an amazing player, but the targets over the last 2 or 3 weeks have got to be near 40 or 50. It's a lot.
It was 37 through 3 weeks. He had 12 catches in this game, led the league in targets coming in. New on NFL Live, we have some injury updates coming out of last night's game, and namely on Malik Neighbors. This from our Giants reporter, Jordan Renaud. Giants facility Friday. He's in good spirits per Coach Brian Daboll. He has 9 days to get through the concussion protocol. The Giants will take it day to day. They're in Seattle next week. And from our Cowboys reporter, Todd Archer, DeMarcus Lawrence is dealing with a right midfoot sprain. Will miss at least multiple weeks once severity is fully diagnosed. He's still meeting with doctors. Micah Parsons has a high ankle sprain, could also miss multiple weeks. Cowboys have 2 games.
Efficient performance yet, throwing a touchdown and running for another. Pittsburgh is now 3-0 for the first time since 2020. The Steelers also sit atop the AFC North standings and the only team in the division with a winning record. Although they've scored only 17 points per game, their stellar defense is allowing less than 10 per game. All right, S.A., you're a Steelers fan. We all know the deal. Talk to me. Are the Steelers dangerous in the AFC?
Come on, speak it with your chest. Okay.
Speak it with your chest. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. All right, look, man. Look. All right, look. I have to say something on national television here. Shay, Notorious Woody. Let me tell you something, bro. I ain't going to take Justin Fields out of the lineup now. I know that I said before I didn't like him. I want to see Russell Wilson. But I have changed my mind. I ain't taking him out of the lineup now. I loved what I saw from him yesterday. First of all, he completed his first 10 throws. And I know they were short and intermediate throws, and I get all of that. But his decision-making, running with the football as well, being that dual threat, some of the throws that he was doing, I liked what I saw. Doing interceptions, but for the most part, protecting the football, getting rid of it when necessary, not taking sacks like the 99 sacks over the last 2 years he took coming into this season. He's being well coached. Mike Tomlin's just continuing to show his greatness. This is the 4th time they've started 3-0 with him as the coach. The other 3 times, 2007, 2010, 2020. They made the playoffs each time. I get all of that. One of those years they went to the Super Bowl, if I remember correctly. I mean, I'm just looking at them right now. I'm happy with what I'm seeing. The defense led by T.J. Watt. My God, he is so special. He really, really is. He is something to behold. So I'm looking at the defense and what have you, and I know that they got the pieces around him offensively. It was just about that quarterback position. And Justin Fields yesterday against a Chargers defense that was only giving up like 6.5 points a game coming into the game, for crying out loud. I mean, to see, him be able to do what he did when it counted against that defense. Can't say enough about him. Very impressed with him. And I would concede I'm not taking him out of the lineup. But when we ask how dangerous are they in the AFC, it's one thing for him not to mess up and to show the improvement that he's shown. I just still need to see some offensive firepower from this team. I firmly believe in the defense. I need to see some offensive firepower from this team if I'm going to believe that they're going to be that big, bona fide, dangerous threat in the AFC.
Well, damn, I wish you would started with that point. Because that's all you had to say, Woody. Woody, that's all he had to say. I like what I'm seeing from the Steelers, but I
don't feel like doing it, Shay. But I don't feel like doing it, man.
All that tap dancing for what?
That's tap dancing. You know what I'm saying? Gregory Hines.
Is this the nickel? Hey, I say, is this the Nickel Brothers or is this Gregory Hines? All this tapping he got going on. I'm going to need to see. I'm going to need to see more Molly offensively. Stephen A. is absolutely right. That defense has been they've been great thus far. But the question is, what happens if you can get a lead and you force Justin Fields to beat you throwing the football? Because right now they're doing a great job of running it. They run it with him. They run it with Najee Harris. They run it with Warren. So they're doing a great job of being able to dictate and control the pace in which the game is being played at. But we know, Woody, having played as long as we have, eventually somebody's going to get a lead. And they're not going to let you play safe football. Safe football when you're behind is not the way to win football games. You can play this way as long as you have the lead and you're able to dictate the pace in which you play at. But when you fall behind and they force your quarterback and they put the ball in his hands, let's see how well they can do it. Now, they're on a great track. I saw the stat that we just put up. They have an 80% chance of making the playoffs. Their defense is going to keep them in a lot of games because they're really, really good. The question is, if they ever get behind by more than a field goal, more than a touchdown, is he going to be, with Justin Fields, will he revert back to some of his old habits that he had in Chicago, or can he stay on the straight and narrow and lead this team to a come-from-behind victory?
You know, Shay, man, we always say, man, coaching matters in the National Football League more so than any other league.
It absolutely does.
And if you look at, and the prime example is Justin Fields. You know, when we talked about Justin Fields coming to the season, a couple things we always talked about. How much he had been sacked, how many sacks he took, and then turnovers. That's not what he's doing in Pittsburgh right now. He's playing efficient football, complementary football, and I can even say after yesterday's game was a prime example of a guy who is transitioning from athlete playing quarterback to a quarterback who's an athlete. That's what Justin Fields looked like yesterday. We saw the playmaking ability. We saw the throws in the middle of the field. We saw accuracy. We saw touch on the football. That's what it's going to take. Are there questions that need to be answered as far as this Pittsburgh Steelers offense? Absolutely. They're checking the boxes. But if he continues to make progress at the quarterback position with the way they're playing defense, absolutely the Pittsburgh Steelers are a threat in the AFC. Okay? If you don't, listen, Shay, you know this. If you don't turn the ball over, and you're able to play good defense, you got a shot to win every single game. And that's one thing that Justin Fields is doing. He's taking care of the football. He's getting better at playing the quarterback position. And as long as that keeps going on this track, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be a threat in the AFC.
Well, damn it, Woody, who's tap dancing now? Let me tell you
I'm
something.
not tap dancing. I answered the question.
Wait a minute. It said how dangerous are, not would be.
I just said they will be one of the top teams in the AFC.
It says how dangerous are they? The fact of the matter is, I'm looking at Justin Fields, and I'm saying to you, I'm very, very pleased. I'm very, very pleased. But you know why I'm very, very pleased with him? Because he had been so bad in years past. The fact of the matter is, if this brother was a Joe Burrow, if he was a Lamar Jackson, if he was even a Justin Herbert, we would say, it's all right. But we need more. We just are pleased because he's coming from a very low bar. Let's call it what it is. And so what I'm saying is now.
So why aren't you giving your boy Mike Tomlin some more credit here? You haven't given your boy Mike Tomlin some credit.
Hold it. Because I've seen quarterbacks ruin his day. Mike Tomlin's been great. Mike Tomlin's been a great coach. You understand? He's found a way to work around not having anything. I've seen quarterbacks ruin that man's Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve, and everything else in between. The brother can't enjoy the holiday season for years. I don't know when's the last time Mike Tomlin's had a good Christmas because of the damn quarterback situation in Pittsburgh and how they've ruined his greatness as a coach. But this year is threatening to be different. All I'm trying to say is I'm trying to look out for my man Mike T. I'm trying to sit up there and make sure that we manage our expectations. The defense is big time. They got to the quarterback Herbert and Heineke, okay? Not the muffler Heineke, the quarterback Heineke, okay? They got to him, all right? They got Herbert out of there in the second half. They got to Heineke the rest of the way. I saw Austin making plays. I saw Fryermuth making plays. I saw Scotty Miller making plays, for crying out loud. I liked it. I don't have problems with the Steelers personnel, with Warren and Harris out of the backfield, and what those brothers are going to be capable of doing, assuming everybody's healthy come playoff time. The issue is, how are we going to feel about the quarterback? That's all I'm saying. I need to see more, but I'm happy with the progress that has been made.
Yeah, I think what they've done is they've done a great, Stephen, I think